They made this farm run. They made this country run. The economy of this country was agrarian in nature, and their contribution to running the economy and the way this country evolved goes back to the incredible amount of labor the enslaved and the skills that the enslaved brought, not only here at Sotterly, but nationwide.
Stories of endurance, resilience, and resistance are deeply rooted here at historic Sotterly. For a century and a half, enslaved people were forced to work against their will in the fields, barns, and houses of this former tobacco plantation.
Sotterly was always a farm. From day one, for 300 years, this site has been a farm.
In the 1700s, the property spanned over 6,000 acres. Today, this National Historic Landmark in southern Maryland covers just 94. Now, they work hard to preserve, honor, and share the complex realities of the past that are forever tied to hundreds of years of slavery.
My people were property. Someone sold them, someone owned them. And it was at that moment that I was given the history of Sotterly that it hit me. And that's a lot to take in.
As a living descendant of enslaved people, Gwen Bankin's reconnection to this place began with her cousin, Agnes Kane Cullum. Through genealogy, Agnes discovered her grandfather was born at Sotterly, and she wanted to know more. Her research led to this tiny slave cabin. Built in 1830, it's the only standing dwelling of its kind in southern Maryland. Here, Agnes and Gwen's ancestors once lived.
When she came on a visit with her dad, Philip Moton Kane, and the slave cabin, the door was locked with a chain and a sign with "Do Not Enter." And that made Agnes want to tell our story.
From that day forward until she passed away in 2015, Agnes relentlessly pursued the stories of her ancestors, which led to the slave cabin being unlocked and restored, and the contributions of many who had been forgotten finally acknowledged.
I didn't have a story when I came here. There was no story when I came here. Just like Agnes saw the "Do Not Enter" and the padlock, the voice of my ancestors and the contributions were also locked. It's like it didn't make a difference.
Sotterly has been open to the public since 1961, making it one of the oldest museums of its kind. Over time, the foundation recognized the need to show a broader picture beyond the historic barns and elaborate mansion, a picture that included the lives of the enslaved.
We realized that not only do we need to be inclusive, but one of the things that's so needed is, as you understand the realities of the past, realities that my generation really were not taught. As you understand the realities of the past, you can better understand the realities we're facing as a nation today.
Sotterly's Common Ground initiative brings these stories to light through their Descendants Project, which connects families of the former owners, workers, and enslaved people who were once part of the plantation.
Hopefully we'll get more and more people, interested in doing it.
I think telling the story transparently is what helps and what brings them on board.
Absolutely. I agree.
Uphill from the modest cabin sits the expansive manor house. Inside, the luxurious splendor of the era is carefully preserved, demonstrating the stark contrast of how Jan Briscoe's ancestors once lived.
We're here in the Red Room where my grandfather, John H.G. Briscoe, was born in 1890. And he was the grandson of this gentleman, Dr. Walter Hanson Stone Briscoe, and of course his wife, Emmeline, who, as I say, were the owners of Sotterly for many decades in the 1800s.
Today, Gwen Bankins and Jan Briscoe both sit on the board of Historic Sotterly. They want to provide not just education, but reconciliation too.
We are working to really trying to get to a place of understanding, reflection, and healing. And that's what we're trying to do at Sotterly.
The path towards healing also includes reconnecting with the farmland.
Right now we're working 10 to 12 acres of potatoes, 4 to 6 acres of produce, and about 100 acres of hay.
Farm manager Joe Goldsmith maintains the grounds and leads the Growing for Good program, an initiative that brings people together to learn about agriculture and get their hands dirty.
In the past 7 years, they've donated over 70,000 pounds of food to the local food banks, and that's incredible. You can watch it grow at a place where there was pain. So it's a healing of sorts to me. We still have a long way to go, but I believe that they're on the right track by being transparent and giving back to the community.
Although the past may hold painful memories, understanding it can help build a better future, which is why this place means so much to people like Gwen.
I truly believe that Historic Sotterly helps you to be comfortable with what you're uncomfortable with. When individuals ask me, why am I here? My first question is, have you ever visited the place? It is a historical site that tells a story of a time that was not pleasant, but at the same time, it's found a way to try to heal. Continue the story, become educated, keep the conversation going, and support the historic sites who are trying to tell the story.
Thanks for watching Maryland Farm and Harvest. We hope you liked the video. To learn more about our show and watch full episodes, check out mpt.org/farm or just click the link in the description.